Let's turn our attention now, though, to one stock that is seeing a significant move in this session, and that is Facebook. We saw those shares sliding yesterday on the back of the company, warning of a slowdown ahead, and we are continuing to see the declines in the session, down more than 3%. The social media giant saw its revenue grow by 56% year on year in the quarter. That was the fastest growth since 2016, but the company warned that growth in its second half will decelerate, in their words, significantly. Let's bring in Igal Arunian, Wedbush Securities VP of Equity Research. Igal, it's good to talk to you today. A number of headwinds that we saw the company highlight yesterday. The challenges, of course, they've talked about before, from the new updates to iOS, the privacy features potentially making it a little more difficult to target ads. And then, of course, the headwinds they face from a regulatory standpoint, as well as changes on the platform. When you look at it in its totality, what do you see as the biggest risk to the company?
Well, I mean, certainly at the top line, the strong digital ad market should be the biggest thing that helps kind of offset and mitigate some of these risk factors. I think in the near term, the engagement is just one of the things to keep an eye on. Especially in the U.S. and Canada, we saw daily average users decline year over year. And as we continue to kind of see a reopening and people get out and about more, what happens with engagement and users, that's certainly one thing. And then we do think that Facebook is the most exposed to Apple's privacy changes. It seems to be, from what we're hearing so far, both from advertisers and results at earnings, that Facebook is seeing the biggest impact so far from advertisers kind of changing how they allocate their ad dollars and think about how they're spending. They've been the most vocal about it, and they expect it to be a bigger impact in the third quarter as well. The regulatory stuff is there, and it should continue to be an overhang for a while to a certain extent, but I think that's a longer term, bigger picture thing and not as much of a near term impact yet.
Yeah, obviously, I mean, if you think about the growth mediating a bit there in terms of what they've seen on the user side, it's still good that they're able to get more revenue out of a slowing user base there. And if they're able to do that, things continue to churn along. But I think, today while we're seeing the stock down, you never really want to hear about issues around quarters to come, around maybe their ability to continue squeezing more revenue out of those customers. And it's not just really the Apple news about targeting ads, but also, I suppose, as you're talking about the regulatory issues, whether or not we're going to see Congress come in here and maybe have some issues there as well. I mean, the Apple stuff's obviously more pressing, but when you dig into it, how's Facebook maybe a bit more to see issues on the downside relative to some of the other tech companies we saw report earlier this week?
Well, I mean, look, the regulatory stuff is there, but Facebook continues to be very ambitious in what it's trying to achieve. Talked yesterday a lot about this idea around the metaverse and building a metaverse, which is, really, to sum it up, kind of like social media in virtual reality. But it's a big, ambitious project. They're trying to bring a lot more commerce directly onto the platform. That's a pretty big, ambitious project for them. So there are regulatory concerns, and there's a lot of focus there. But Facebook's not slowing down, and I think it continues to be ambitious. Those are the kind of things that need to be successful over the long term to keep user growth strong and the monetization, like you noted, of their users, which they are the best at. They monetize their users better than anybody else. It's been an incredibly strong digital ad market. Ad prices are up tremendously over the last year, and to keep seeing that move up, these are the kind of things that they're going to need to start to factor in and see contribute a little bit more.
Yeah, let's talk a bit more about the metaverse, Igal, because this is something we have heard Mark Zuckerberg talk about before, sort of bringing this place, the social media space, into the virtual world. This, of course, comes at a time when we're looking at daily active users. At least in North America, they did maintain the numbers, but in places like Europe, it did drop in the quarter. If the idea here is to try and keep users on the platform for longer, try to bring new users into the fold, how does this grand vision that he has set out, how does that move the ball forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a grand vision, and I think it takes a really long time to come into play fully. We've seen it over the past couple of years. So Mark Zuckerberg's been very focused on AR. They invest a lot there. They make acquisitions in that arena. They're hiring a lot around AR and VR and that area. So there's a big focus there. He noted on the call that it's the kind of thing that takes more than one company to build. So they intend to be a core player in that, but there needs to be a whole ecosystem that's built around it. And with the idea of Facebook not just being social media, but an area where you can interact with everybody in a virtual reality type of environment, and they view it as the next leg of the internet, a shift from mobile to metaverse. It's a very big picture idea. It's going to require a lot of investment, and I think it's going to take a decent amount of time to get there if we do.
Yeah, no shortage of mentioning the metaverse on that call. The 20 times, 28 mentions of advertising. So you got quite a bit of chatter about the metaverse. We'll see what happens. Yigal Arunian, Wedbush Securities VP of Equity Research. Appreciate you taking the time there to chat.